Our 18th Sunday in Ordinary Time, from the book of Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, says Koheleth. Vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. Here is one who has labored with wisdom and knowledge and skill, and yet to another who has not labored over it. He must leave property. This also is vanity, and a great misfortune. For what profit comes to man from all the toil and anxiety of heart with which he has labored under the sun? All his days sorrow and grief are his occupation. Even at night his mind is not at rest. This also is vanity. The word of the Lord. From Paul's letter to the Colossians. Brothers and sisters, if you are raised with Christ, seek what is above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Think of what is above, not of what is on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ your life appears, then you too will appear with him in glory. Put to death then the parts of you that are earthly: immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and the greed that is idolatry. Stop lying to one another, since you have taken off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed for knowledge, in the image of its Creator. Here there is not Greek and Jew, circumcision and uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, slave free, but Christ is all in all. The word of the Lord. Lord be with you. Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." He replied to him, "Friend, who appointed me as your judge and arbiter?" Then he said to the crowd, "Take care to guard against all greed, for though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions." Then he told them a parable. There was a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. He asked himself, "What shall I do, for I do not have space to store my harvest?" And he said, "This is what I shall do. I shall tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I shall store all my grain and other goods, and I shall say to myself, 'Now as for you, you have so many good things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you. The things you have prepared, to whom will they belong?' Thus it will be for all who stored up treasure for themselves and are not rich in what matters to God." The Gospel of the Lord. The Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, published in 1846, is actually thought to have renewed the Christmas feast itself in Britain. Its message of peace and goodwill to all is the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, who's transformed from a miser to a generous, caring, and loving person. The book of Ecclesiastes declares human life nothing but vanity. The vanity Ecclesiastes speaks about is the breath you see in winter that comes out of your mouth and then vanishes immediately. The author is tackling the same issue that Jesus faced. There was a belief that wealth was a sign of God's blessing and a good life lived. Luke's story of the rich man relishing his wealth has no idea that God will call him home that very evening. And it may actually point to the way we live today. Our capitalist mentality affects the way we live. This mentality sees the economy as the central concern and is seen as successful if it grows. The economy for people today is the bigger barns the rich man sought in his life. How do we as Christians express our beliefs in today's world? I have heard it more and more that there's developing a wider gap between the poor and the rich, with the middle class slowly disintegrating. I've also heard stories of wealthy people setting up philanthropies to assist others with their money. Bill and Melinda Gates, Warren Beatty are those that come to mind. The scriptures today want us to know that being wealthy is not a sin. It's important to not get caught up in forgetting family, friends, and loved ones and focus only on wealth. We cannot forget to put our energies into concern for others. and focus on building community in our neighborhoods. Listen to our inner voice, people, that points to the others around us. And from Tiny Tim, God bless us, everyone. Have a good week.